15 years of experience. She has a proven track record in helping early stage ventures in fields like livelihood improvement, nutrition and edtech. Recently, she managed investment at the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator. Her expertise spans e-commerce, digital marketing, product management, and computer science, making her a dynamic force in nurturing startups and building scalable business. We are honored to have you here, ma'am. I would like to invite you to please address startups.
One more thing, she is SNDT alumni. So please give a big round of applause.
Thanks, Divya. Pleasure being here. So, just show of hands, how many entrepreneurs in the room? Very good. How many people thinking about entrepreneurship? And come here to figure out why you should do this completely insane thing. Okay. We'll keep the talk short because I don't want to be between you guys and lunch. That's a very dangerous place to be. But so what I would like to concentrate on is maybe 5 key traits of the best entrepreneurs that I've seen. Bit of background, like I mentioned, I used to head sourcing for the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator. The World Food Program, if you know about it, is one of the UN's largest voluntarily funded agencies. So think of it like the DHL of the UN system. It used to have about $10 billion in annual operating revenues. And we used to, so our division used to find interesting startups for improving the operational efficiency of the World Food Program. Since then, recently I have set up my fund called Majority. The name is a little self-explanatory. We are looking at technology, deep technology ideally, which can help millions of people at one go. So, for example, if you had a, let's say, a black box. I won't go into the specifics of the technology. You had a black box that could help improve the incomes of farmers by 3x. Then we want to see whether you can scale to 100,000 users in year 1, to a couple of million users by year 5, etc. Because in a sense, working in the impact space, scalability becomes one of our biggest concerns. Anyway, coming back, so some of the startups that we've supported across roles are the likes of a startup called Thrive Agri. When I first met them, they had approximately, they were that startup, they were the black box that would help triple farmers' incomes. At that time, they had about 5,000 customers on the platform. Today, I don't want to mention the number of customers on the platform, but they have a top line of $70 million and a bottom line of over $1.5 million. So, characteristic number 1 of successful startups. Before they start, they know how big they can be. Scale doesn't make you afraid. This is one of the most common questions I ask founders, or what we try to evaluate from founders. If tomorrow you grew to a 200 crore organization, does that aspect scare you or excite you? Which is very, very great. So the question is, how do you get to at least 2 in the next year, so that you get to 200 in 10 years? So scalability has to be at the core of any startup, and any good venture investor worth your salt will tell you this. A startup is considered venture investable only when it can achieve insane scale. Especially if we are trying to build solutions for problems that are unique to India, or that affect millions or hundreds of millions of people. It is literally our core duty to build that solution to be scalable from the get-go, to think as a company about how we will be scalable from the get-go. And so, I mean, every one of us knows the standard VC pitch deck, so I won't go there, but there is this fancy word that we all throw called TAM, Total Addressable Market. Total Addressable Market is not theory. The whole point of trying to attack a problem that has millions of customers is because, see, eventually, as a person, as a founder, as a team, you have the same amount of time, you have the same 24 hours. If you chose to solve a problem that affects, say, 20,000 people a year, versus you choose to solve a problem that affects 400 million people a year. I mean, from the get-go, you're limiting yourself if you're looking at a too small problem. It gives the investor the signal that the team is thinking too small. So, first point, think scale. Let's That's not to say that there is no value in solving problems that are smaller. You could probably begin with a smaller problem as your first pilot, but go bigger. So, okay, this is a problem statement, this is the first problem statement that we are attacking. And then, in about 2 years' time, we'll go on to this adjacent problem statement, etc., etc. In technical terms, it's called the bowling ball, bowling pin kind of thing, where we're saying, okay, we start with a small problem, but we know for a fact that there are 7 or 8 adjacent problems that we could solve. And therefore, so second characteristic of a founder. How many people know what Instagram first started out as? Did Instagram first start out as a filter putting app on phones? How many people know this? What was its first avatar? What was Instagram's first avatar before it set up? Yeah, so essentially they were trying to create some version of Facebook. They started out building the whole nuts and bolts of being a social media platform, etc., where there was a lot of collaboration, etc. And after relentless testing, they realized that the best loved feature or the best adopted feature amongst their alpha users was the feature of the filters on pictures. And you remember they launched like that. Today they are kind of like a parallel Facebook. So they've come back to their original vision. But they weren't in love with their original vision. So feature number 2, be in love with the problem, not the solution. The problem has to excite you, keep you awake morning, noon and night. That self-motivation has to come from the problem. Saying, okay, we think we want to figure out a great way for people to share pictures. We think there's something missing in the way people share pictures today. And if it requires us to take the first step, if it requires us to take a step back from our initial grandiose vision of building the entire social network around sharing pictures and saying, okay, everybody just loves our filter feature today. Go like that. So, step number 3 over there. Bias towards action. Something has to launch. Something horrible has to launch, but something has to launch. So Reid Hoffman, I think, of LinkedIn has most famously said, if you don't hate the first version of what you launched too late, right? So if I speak to you as an investor today and I speak to you 2 weeks from now, something has to change. People who was flying on Indian skies was a car rentals alongside the flight fees. So here you are, there are brand new airports 50 kilometers from the city in Bangalore and Hyderabad, and we are launching a product saying, okay, we know you're going to land in Bangalore, you've got the ticket. Now do you want a taxi at 300 rupees flat anywhere in the city? And we didn't have uptake, we just didn't have uptake. Not enough people were buying. It took us 2+ months of talking to 100 customers each day, 50 who bought the product and 50 who didn't buy the product, to understand some idea, to get some idea of where we were going to. And then we decided to go one level deeper. So for a while in 2010, you would see people from the Make My Trip team standing at Qutub Minar and Delhi Airport and New Delhi railway station, interrogating customers, saying, why did you buy from someone else? What did you like? What feature did you like someone else? Catch the customer anyhow. It costs you something, it costs you something. Similarly for Tata Click, for example, when we wanted to, so Tata Click had this feature, probably still does, which is called omnichannel. Very popular overseas, which is basically that you can buy online and choose to pick up the product at the store. So West Side, Anka Mall or Massimo Dutti, name it. You can buy it online and you can choose to pick up the product at a store near you. Was it taking off to the degree here that we expected it to do? The same brands overseas were seeing much higher click to collect or omni-channel kind of orders. We won. We stood at West Side, we stood at Adidas. You go and question the customer. Unless you are relentlessly questioning the customer, none of those other things are going to happen. The love for the problem, the scalability, the pursuit of scalability, none of that will happen. And you have to not just be customer focused, you have to be able to read between the lines. The customer is never going to open up and tell you exactly what their problem is. You come to somebody and say, hey, I built this app. and you tell me how it is, the chances are you're going to get a lot of goody words and no meaningful insight. So, I mean, there's a wonderful book around this called Mom Test, which you should try, which you should read. Which is basically that you go to your mother and tell her, I built this. She's never going to tell you that there's anything wrong with it. We love it. This is awesome. This is going to take off. I'm going to buy it. So the last point, relentless focus on revenues. If you find the person who says, I love this, I'm going to buy it. Here's an order form. Fill it up now. Give me 100 rupees. Give me a test. And this has worked. This has worked in India. There was a team called Surya Nirbhar. They're doing very well. They do solar powered tractors for small farms. Surya Nirbhar raised over 10 lakh rupees, charging small farmers 100 rupees each as a booking fee while being in a Krishi Mela. So, figure out ways to get the customer to commit early. So, what are the 5 points that we said? Scale focus, problem focus. Yeah,
Scale focus, don't be in love with the problem, not the solution, bias towards action, customer centric and relentless towards making the revenue.
Yeah. So the other side of making revenues, the fun part of making revenues is that you can prove everybody wrong. I'll give you an example. There's a founder I will not name because I have done very badly against her. So she was a mentee of mine in our team. When I had 6 mentees in our team, I had 5 tech founders, 1 non-tech founder. And I come from a technology background, so somebody making handicrafts was like, okay, maybe she's doing something nice and let me leave it and all that, okay? So while I finished three rounds of calls with the other tech founders, I didn't even do like 1 round of calls with her. So she came to the point where she raised it to the incubator manager saying, she was not setting up a call with me. Like, okay, fine, let's sit and talk. I specifically asked for tech founders because I had the scalability core in mind and all that. Then I get on the first call with her and they're telling her, I mean, frankly, you're doing handicrafts. I think it's a disservice for women. Women should be doing more technology. We get so easily slotted in fashion and food and stuff that we should get out of it. So I don't think handicraft is a great sort of fit for me. You should probably look for another mentor. And I can understand your product. It looks very similar to Fab India. It looks the same. I mean, I could find 15 similar products in 15 stores. What's so great? She said, you don't need to understand my product. I started in July of this year. We were sitting in November. She started in July of that year and her top line was 70 lakh rupees. That's where, like, revenue trumps everything. Every investor, at that point, the investor will be like, मुझे नहीं समझता है, but कुछ तो कर रहे हो आप. Like, I don't understand head nor tail of what you're doing. My initial reaction before knowing your revenue is probably things like, it's undifferentiated, non-scalable, how will this grow, etc., etc. But sometimes the differentiator is the founder. Sometimes factor X is the founder. And if the founder has shown the ability to move, there is always bias to action. They're doing something different. Today she goes and gets IKEA as a partner. Tomorrow she goes and gets Diesel as a partner. I'm like, okay, I don't understand handicrafts still, but you're doing something right. Go ahead. So if nothing else, to the next person who comes along, and when there was an investor coming along for the next round of investment of 50 lakhs, they reached out to us saying, how's this founder? So they still don't understand what she's doing, which is very different from Fab India. And why is Fab India able to charge, say, 7,000 for the same thing and she's able to charge 15,000? So I don't understand the design aesthetic. But I can tell you one thing, she's the most relentless founder I have seen. Revenue will come. And if revenue will come, then see, investors are interested in growth, right? And growth is a function. I mean, to a certain extent, revenue is a leading indicator of the potential growth of the company. If you have that focus, if you have a focus on these 5 things, I think you're not going to hear a no from any. You might in fact be in a situation where you might tell the investor, I don't need you anymore, I have enough revenues, or even better still, I have enough profits to just exist. So this, for example, is the most fun place to be. Like, you have a slide on your deck saying, we don't need investor revenues to exist. We need investor revenues to grow. And it happened. We've been able to do it for one of our investing startups, where they raised about $1.3 million. They went through Y Combinator 3 years ago, raised about $1.3 million there, and used only 0.3 of the 1.3 in a year's time to reach 300,000 in recurring revenue. So So now they have a slide on their pitch deck which says we use 300K to come up with 300K annual recurring revenue. The remaining million we'll use for growth. So the moment, so Ogden Nash once very famously said, bankers are funny people. They will give you a loan when you don't need it. Investors are equally funny people. If you show them, हमको तुम्हारा पैसा नहीं चाहिए, that's when they come beating a path to your door. So all the best. Let's see some very interesting unicorns come up from here, and not just unicorns in terms of mythical valuations, but like $1 billion in revenue. Somebody doing 8,000 crores in revenue will be a fun thing to watch 5 years from now. Looking forward to some good deals, yeah. All the best.